see the judge yet. Got your water? I'm gonna go grab my water.
I'm getting these little bottles here.
Yeah, I like to have those.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
Morning.
Morning.
Chambers County Probate Court come to order. All right, anyone that's going to testify, please raise your right hand so Christy can swear you in.
Raise your right hand.
Brett.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Clause number 22, CPR 0014, the state of Roger Levon Dickey. Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I'm going to call Elizabeth Green Taylor first. Liz, would you state your name for the court?
Elizabeth Green Taylor.
And you were Roger Levon Dickey's first spouse or wife, correct?
No, I was his fourth wife.
Fourth. Oh, I'm sorry. Why would I think you're okay? So Roger passed away on January 25th, 2014 at Mont Bellevue, Chambers County, Texas, correct?
That's my understanding. Yes.
And he was 66 years of age.
Yes.
And that was his last domicile and fixed place of residence was Chambers County, Texas.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me, you were the fourth marriage, and during that marriage, you had one child, Daniel Levon Dickey, correct?
Correct.
And tell me the time frame of your marriage to Roger and how you met him and how you stayed in touch over the years.
I met him at the Evergreen State College when I was a student there and he was employed there. We married in December 1983. We separated in, I think it was March or April of 97. And then we finally got legally divorced in 2003. I believe it was June-ish, 2003.
All right. And over that period of time and even up, did you know him up until his death?
Yes. Yeah, we communicated frequently.
And so, you know, following your divorce, are you aware of other marriages that he had?
No.
Okay. So you weren't aware of prior marriages?
Yes, I was aware that he had been married 3 times before.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And so, but during this time and during your marriage to him, you became aware that he had 3 other marriages. Sorry to confuse.
Yes,
I'm the one
yes.
confused.
3 previous marriages.
Okay, and one marriage was to Sherilyn S. Hendrickson.
Sherilyn,
Sherilyn.
I don't remember ever knowing her last name, her maiden name. Roger had told me that she had at some point changed her last name to Sunflower. And so
Okay.
that was what I knew her by.
Okay, and to your knowledge, were there any children born to, adopted by, or cared for by Roger and Sherilyn during that marriage?
No,
And then that marriage apparently ended around 1974, and he married in 1978 a lady named Deborah Lee Gauthier.
yes,
And that marriage, and you were aware of that marriage too?
yes.
And that marriage ended in divorce around 1980. And to your knowledge, were there any child or children born to, adopted by, or cared for by Roger and Deborah?
No,
Okay, and then third marriage was to June Jeanette Barron.
yes,
And were you aware of that marriage?
yes, I was.
And to your knowledge, were there any child or children born to, adopted by, or cared for by Roger and June?
No, it was my understanding that that the marriage was extremely short. Almost immediately, she had decided that she did not want to be married.
Okay, and then of course, we've now established that you were the last marriage,
Yes,
and he was not married after that.
that's correct.
And to your knowledge, there's no deceased children.
No,
Okay, and so again, your testimony is that the only child born to, adopted by, or cared for by Roger was Daniel Levon Dickey who was born during your marriage to Roger.
I need to understand what you mean by cared for.
Well, that would be a long-term relationship where somebody cared for a child as though they were their own in their home and acknowledged that they were their child somehow. That's really what that means. It's I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but there's a theory called equitable adoption where you have to have an agreement to be adopted. You have to actually hold yourselves out as in having a parent-child relationship, et cetera. And it's, typically somebody who has been cared for long-term it would have been in Roger's home for a long period of time.
I had 2 children from a previous marriage, Jesse and Michelle Niquette. They lived with us, with Roger and me, for substantial periods of time, but not all the time. And Roger never considered them his own children. They had their own dad.
Okay. So
That sounds like it does not meet the definition as you've described it of caring for.
it would not, I'm not the judge, of course, the judge is listening, but that's more of a typical blended family situation where there's been no formal adoption and each child has their separate parents. So,
Yes.
So that,
And that was the situation.
okay. And you're not being compensated in any way for your testimony today? You're receiving
sir.
no benefit for testifying truthfully before the court?
No, sir, no compensation.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Trenda, good morning.
Good morning. Just one follow-up because I didn't hear. You were his last and final wife, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so he never remarried after that.
Right.
And you didn't hear of any other children post-divorce that he brought into his home that could claim adoption by estoppel or equitable adoption as Judge White?
No, he had a vasectomy while we were married.
Okay. All right, perfect. That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, counsel, I'll call you next week. Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, I call Dennis Gustafson. Dennis, are you there?
You're
Can you unmute, please?
okay. Here I am. There
There
you
you
go.
go. Dennis, would you state your name?
My name's Dennis Gustafson.
And how did you know Roger?
Roger and I also attended college at Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. Roger was attending. We went to some classes together. We worked together also at the college and later. So I knew Roger from probably 81 for the rest of his life.
And you stayed in fairly close touch throughout his life?
We talked at least once or twice up until, when he moved to Texas. It's not like we were talking on the phone every day, but we kept in touch. Yeah.
Okay. And are you aware of his marriage to Elizabeth Green Taylor?
Oh yeah.
And
We visited together and spent time together, had dinner, so on. We were friends. I would count Liz as a friend.
and
that
so
time.
during that marriage, there was one child born to, adopted by, or cared for by them,
Daniel, yes.
Daniel Levon Dickey. And are you aware of Roger's other marriages?
I'm aware of them.
And to your knowledge, during all those marriages, was there any other child born to or adopted by or cared for by Roger?
Roger never mentioned any other children. And I mean, seeing how his attachment was to Dan, I'm sure if he would have had another child, he would have said something. We had a lot of conversations. So no.
And you're not receiving any compensation or benefit for your testimony, are you?
No.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Brenda.
I have no questions. Judge Wright did an amazing job, so he left me without any questions to ask. Thank you.
No.
Well, no, I had a couple of hiccups here and there. Judge, I could call Daniel Levon Dickey, but those were my two disinterested witnesses. And we've decided if the court obviously finds Daniel's the sole heir, that we don't need an administration.
Okay. And I see that you both signed off on this judgment declaring heirship. So you agree that he is the only heir, Ms. Brenda?
I do. Just for the record, I spoke with his brother also, who confirmed everything that our witnesses has testified to today. So I'm comfortable with everything in the testimony.
All right. I'm going to approve the judgment declaring heirship.
Yep.
We don't need administration, and I'm also going to approve the order authorizing appointee fees. Ms. Rendon.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We're done.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
you all.
day.
Take care.
Good to see you. Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Number 50, the state of W.F. Childress. Ms. Clapper, good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
And you may proceed, ma'am.
Is your name Liddy Louise Childress?
Yes.
And for how many years did you know W.F. Childress?
Since 1956.
Quite a number of years.
Yes.
And you were his sister-in-law.
Yes, I was married to his brother.
All right. And W.F. died April 26th of this year, subject of a tragic boat accident.
Yes.
He was how old?
88.
88 years of age, out in a boat,
Yeah.
being W.F. All right. He was married one time.
One time.
That was to his wife of many years. I think they've been married 63 years when she died of cancer.
Yes.
And during that one and only marriage, did he have any children
No.
or adopt any children
No.
or take any children into his residence to raise? No,
No, he didn't.
he did have some stepchildren that he loved,
He had one stepson.
One-
And 3 step grandchildren.
grandchildren. These are the grandchildren.
Yes,
And they have all filed waivers because he made provisions for them in his will.
yes,
But he himself had no children.
no,
He himself had no heirs.
no,
And he did do a will, did he not?
yes,
And you're familiar with this will, you've read it,
yes,
and you're familiar with WF's signature.
yes,
In fact, if I recall, you came that day in 2019 when he did his will.
yes.
All right. And the will, if you look at his signature,
Yes.
that's his
yes,
signature. And that was April 29th of 2019.
Yes,
And since he signed this will in the presence of 2 witnesses and a notary, did he ever revoke it?
no,
Did he ever give you an indication that he wanted to change it in
No.
any manner? Because it goes into quite specific detail what he wanted to do with this property.
yes,
It doesn't name any charitable organization
no,
as a beneficiary, and there are no claims against his estate for any type of Medicare or other.
no,
Of course, 4 years have not passed since his death, and you're asking the court to allow you to be appointed independent executrix, which is what the will requires.
yes,
And you are willing to assume that oath and do what he asked you to do.
yes, I am.
You have nothing that would prevent you from being the independent executor. And so, Judge, I'm asking that you would approve the application for the probate of the will and issue letters of administration, letters of testamentary.
Yes, ma'am. I hereby order the will to probate and authorize letters of testamentary. And I'm so sorry to hear about Mr. Childress.
Wonderful guy. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, you have the next one. Do you need to get your folks in there?
I do, and we'll have to swear that one up. If you want to
All right,
take
well,
Cindy
Go ahead.
first.
Yeah, this is where I'm going. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, number 54, the state of Dorothy Lee McDonald. Good morning, Cindy, Brett.
Good morning, Judge.
You may proceed, Council.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. McDonald, state your name for the court record, please.
Brett Allen McDonald.
And Dorothy Lee McDonald was your mother, correct?
Correct.
And she died on May 27th in 2017 in Beaumont, Jefferson County at the age of 91.
Yes,
And she left a valid will that was signed on June the 2nd, 2006, correct?
correct.
And she never revoked this will.
No,
You and your siblings decided that everything was taken care of and there was not a necessity to probate the will at the time. And that's the reason for the 4 years since her death, correct?
correct.
And so right now, all that's needed is to change the title to the homestead. Is that correct?
Correct.
Therefore, that's why we filed this as a muniment of title.
Yes.
There's no need for an administration, correct?
No,
There were no children or child born or adopted to her after the date of the will.
no,
And no marriage was dissolved after the date of the will.
no,
And she never applied for or received Medicaid benefits.
no.
And you're asking the court today to grant the probate of the will as a muniment of title only, correct?
Correct.
That's all I have, Judge.
All right, everybody, Mr. Will to probate is muniment of title.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You guys have a good day.
All right,
You
thank
too.
you.
Good to see you. All right, Ms. Clapper.
This is Miss Rayo, Judge, and she was
Ms.
in the,
Rayo, would you raise your right hand, please?
gonna be
Raise your
sworn.
right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're giving today is true and correct, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You can put your hand down. Your husband was a good friend of mine. He was a great guy. All right, you may proceed, Councilman.
I'm pulling out the will, Judge. Give me.
That's fine.
one
Take your
moment.
time. You're the last one, so take your time.
Thank you. Your name is Dorothy June Rayo,
That's correct.
and you were the wife of Donald Means Rayo.
Correct.
How many years were y'all married?
44.
44 years. And he was a resident of Chambers County,
Correct,
and 4 years have not elapsed since his death.
correct.
All right. In the He died in Houston on February 4th, 2022 at the age of 84.
Correct.
And he lived at 1110 Hamilton Road, Stowell in Chambers County.
That's correct.
So this court has jurisdiction over Mr. Rayo and over his estate.
Okay.
And Mr. Rayo was married 2 times during his lifetime. The first was to Beverly Ann Hebert Rayo. That ended by divorce on October 3 of 73 in Jefferson County. And he had 3 children during that marriage, correct? Monica Louisa Rayo Mason, Kathy Mayer Rayo Ellison, and Elwood Leonard Rayo. Was any other child born to or adopted or taken into his home to care for during that first marriage?
No.
All right. And then you were the second marriage.
That's right.
Dorothy June Sharp Rayo. You married on June 9th of 1975, and it terminated upon his death this year, February 4th of 2022. You also had 3 children
That's right.
with Mr. Rayo. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Elizabeth Ann Sharp Donaldson, Rebecca Laverne Sharp Sims, and Bonnie Ross Sharp Rayo.
That's correct.
All right. Now, did he adopt some children?
Yes, he did.
He adopted
3 girls.
your 3
Right.
girls.
Right.
And Bonnie Ross Sharp Rayo is the one who is still a Rayo. The
Right,
others have
right.
married.
Mhm.
So he technically, through the 3 born during his first marriage, the 3 adopted during your marriage, he has 6 children.
Correct.
And all of that, there was no other child adopted by him, born to him during his lifetime, or raised by him as if they were his child.
No.
Just those 6. Now, he left a valid will, did he not?
Yes, he did.
And I'm showing you the will. We're going to go to the signature page. You're familiar with the signature, are you not?
Yes, I am.
You probably were present with the attorney when all this was prepared back on April the 11th of 2017. And is that his signature?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and then we're gonna, looks like he signed it in front of Fred Jackson and Beatrice Jones, and also in front of a notary, making it self-proved, that notary being Loma C. George.
Correct.
And did he at any time after April the 11th of 2017 revoke the will?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Did he ever indicate to you that he had an intention to change his will,
No, he did
or no
not.
longer considered this his wishes upon his death?
No, he never did.
Now, the will designates you to be the independent executrix of his estate, and you're willing to do that.
Yes.
Take the oath and assume the responsibility.
Yes, that's correct.
There's nothing that prohibits you from doing that, and you're more than willing and asking the court to admit the will to probate and to grant you letters testamentary.
Yes.
It doesn't have any charitable or any other agency of the state named as a beneficiary, and there are no Medicare claims against it or Medicaid claims
No.
against it. Your Honor, we're asking you to admit the will to probate and to grant letters testamentary to Dorothy June Rayo.
So done. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good day.
Take care. Have a good day. Thank you, Christy.
Welcome. Did you see my email?
About the 11 o'clock,
That
calling
was,
me or Georgia?
I was talking to you, Judge. Sorry,
Okay.
Georgia. Have a great
Good.
day.
Thank you.
Marina, 11 o'clock was canceled. Is that?
That is correct. Yes, sir. I sent you an email. There was a question an attorney wanted me to go over with you. I sent you the documents, the will, and I typed it all out, the questions that they had.
Okay. I'll take a look at it. I haven't seen it. I was in a.
I know you're busy. When you can, if you could let me know.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day.